Hello and welcome everyone to this week's episode of the podcast. This week I have an exciting guest for you, which is the wonderful Alice Kant. And Alice has her own jewelry business, Alice Catherine Jewellery. Some of you may know her or have heard from her or follow her on Instagram. If you haven't already, make sure you do after today. So Alice joined the Diploma in Silver Jewellery a few years ago, and she has done incredible things with her jewellery and her business since then. She won't say all of this, but I can show off on her behalf. She has opened her own jewelry shop. She has taken on members of staff and started building a team there because she's got so busy. She has a thriving social media. She has some beautiful pieces. Started with kind of like sea glass jewelry and then progressed on and still does some sea glass, but really progressed on to like engagement rings, claw settings, wax, all types of things. And she's just a lovely person as well. So I thought we'd have you on, Alice, to just share a bit about where you're at now and what you're up to with the shop and everything, and a little bit about your journey from the beginning. So welcome. Thanks for
Thank you
coming.
so much. That was a really lovely introduction. Really like that. Thank you.
Yes. Is it funny to reflect back, like, because you've come so far in such a short space of time? Like, is it funny to think, like, oh gosh, yeah, it's only been a couple of years and look at what I'm doing now?
Yeah, I think so, especially because we did the podcast before, like probably about 2 years ago now. And I think maybe the shop had just opened or it was just about to open, and it already felt like I'd squeezed in like loads in that time. And then now it's 2 years again. And that was 2 years of making, and this is 2 years again. And it feels like it's kind of like even more stuff has happened. So it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Great. Well, let's start because before we started at the beginning, let's start with now and work our way back because
Okay.
I'm excited to hear about now. So tell us about the shop. Tell us about, what's your day-to-day like now in your business? Just for anyone who's not sort of seen you, what's your business like?
Yeah, so I'm based on the Isle of Lewis in Scotland, so it's quite a remote island. And I have a little shop in Stornoway, which is the main town here. And the shop is kind of like a little bit off the main street, and that's where I do my making, and we send out all the orders from there. And yeah, so all of the jewelry is now ocean inspired rather than it used to be sea glass specific. And I can actually remember doing one of your courses early on, or you said in something early on, don't like use your name if you can use your name. And I'm so relieved that I used my name because originally it was going to be something sea glass, and now I do know sea glass. So yeah, or I'll do the occasional bit, but it's not the bulk of my jewelry. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Most of my sales are still online, even though I have the shop. Um, but I think it's quite nice to have that front facing part as well.
Yeah, it's lovely. And do you have people come? So where you are, it's kind of cyclical, isn't it? There's people at certain times of year, so it's quieter and then it's busier. So does that mean that you've got chunks of time where you can do more making without being interrupted too much? And then, because I guess that's one of the things with having a shop is like, how do you manage the making versus the customer service versus all the different kind of hats that you need to wear? What do your days sort of look like?
Yeah, so it's taken some time to kind of like get this right, because when I first opened the shop, I just didn't have enough stock ever. And that was partly because I couldn't afford to buy loads of materials, but partly because I didn't have the time to make enough stuff either. So now this kind of answers the year-round question, but I mostly do commissions and then the new designs, and then a lot of the jewelry we have molds for, and it's cast, and then I have help that cleans up castings and attaches ear posts and all of these things. So there's kind of like a main bulk of jewelry on the website is things that like we make repetitively, and I don't need to do that now. It's there and it's organizes itself. And I can now focus more on commissions, which um in the winter when it's quiet on the island is when I kind of open up for more commissions. So right now we're doing loads of those. But then it gets busier with the summer season, there's more of the kind of management of stock and speaking to people. I think because I've advertised my business a lot of as me. It's nice that if people have followed online and then they do get to come to the shop, that I'm there as much as possible to speak to them in person as well. So yeah, it's
Absolutely. They want to meet you. They want to meet the person behind behind the brand. But so you've taken on some people or a person. Tell us a bit about that because I imagine a lot of jewelers get to a point which maybe you got to where you were just super busy, couldn't make enough stock. It's like that chicken and egg thing. When did you decide, okay, I think I'm going to need some help? And how did you decide what kind of help you might need?
so last summer, I think it was last June, I had a reel went very crazy. And I think it got, at the time, I think it was about 1 million views. It's gone more since then. And it was a really rubbish reel, actually. But so it was out of nowhere and really unexpected.
A
And I
viral
got loads
one.
of follows from that. So the first person that I took on, I got grant funding from the local council to take on somebody, and that's Gemma, who works in the studio with me, and she packs orders and serves people in the studio. And just she came in basically as like studio admin assistant to kind of help me organize my brain, because it went from like getting maybe like 3 orders a week online through the website to like 3 orders a day, and my brain just kind of, yeah, went a
A lot. It's
bit.
a lot. Make, pack, ship,
Yeah.
customer service. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. So that was Gemma that came on first, and she does 1 or 2 days a week. And then I have now got 2 people working remotely, one that does marketing stuff for me, and then one that helps with like cleaning up of castings and stuff. So yeah, I think that's been really good. It's just been kind of a learning curve in terms of um knowing what's best to do, because it would be lovely to have people employed that all worked in the studio and we could all work together, but the space is actually really small. um we don't even have facilities to make a cup of coffee, like a cup of tea. We don't have a kettle.
Mm.
So I think it's just a room and a toilet. So um I think me and Gemma get on fine in there just now, and then the other girls work from home, which is great.
Amazing. Does this mean one day you're going to need a bigger shop?
Yeah, I think so. Well, hopefully.
Yeah, that and a kettle. Now I know what to get you for Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting how you're building your team because I think often we feel like, oh, if we have someone, we need to hire someone full time. And the reality of most small businesses is that's not how it works, is you have different people helping with different things. And like you said, it helps to have people who are remote sometimes because then you don't need the space. And they can do it at home, working around other things. And then you've also got someone in the space with you. So yeah, it's awesome. And how does it feel to be in that position to be hiring people and your business growing? And we were chatting a bit before about how you've recently become VAT registered, which is like a blessing and a curse at the same time, but definitely a sign of incredible growth. Like, just, yeah, how does it feel for you?
I think a little bit scary, like, having the responsibility. Like, obviously, I needed the help, which means that we were making the money. So I know that I can pay these people, but it is like feels like quite a lot to think, oh, these people are now looking to me to make the money. And like it, that you can look at previous months and know that the sales are going to happen, but um I feel like that is like a jump in responsibilities. I think um at this time last year, our turnover had been like a third the year before as it was last year. So um it's gone quite quickly, which is great. But at this time last year, I wasn't even full time myself. So now to have 3 people, it's gone quite fast.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think, you've put so much work in. You had great experience with marketing. So you were doing great on your socials, on your reels, like growing things. But also, what I love about your business is I feel like you really brought everyone into the story, and you still do. Of like, it's you, it's your jewelry business. I love that you chose your name and not sea glass, well, not just because you moved on from the sea glass, but also I do think it's that personal connection. Like, I'm sure people feel like they're really coming to meet you and they're going to get to know you, and you're awesome, and your dog, and the jewelry, and it's the whole story. And I think a lot of jewelers listening, that's such a useful thing, isn't it, from a marketing perspective, to kind of have that connection with your customers. What do you think, like, why do you think it has grown so quickly?
I think definitely like the personal aspect of it does definitely work. And it is so strange because it feels a little bit silly to like be sharing content that doesn't even have the jewelry in it. But for some, not for some reason, it does work. Um, so yeah, I think also quite a lot of people have connections to the island. And so they're interested in that aspect, which is another great part to have. So yeah, it is good, but it is every time that I don't have to, every time I go to post something that is like very much me, like doing something, still have that feeling of, oh, this feels a little bit silly, but then like this content is what people actually want to see. So yeah, I
Mhm.
think that has helped.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's like getting comfortable, isn't it, with putting yourself out there, and with sharing yourself, because I think you're right. It's there's the mixture of the jewelry, so having this really lovely jewelry which you have and you've developed, and it's really progressed as well. Like, you can see the progression in the pieces that you've made. So that's one thing, like, that's really important. But also having this personal brand, you could call it, but this kind of connection with you as the jeweler. And then you mentioned as well this connection to the island, and I think that's almost like what I would call your values. It's kind of like what the business kind of is about. It's some content, and you share a lot about that as well, like what it's like to live there, and people coming to visit and all of that. So it kind of becomes a bit more of the brand story as well. So yeah, all comes together. And what is next? Like, I guess this just keeping going, but are there any plans or thoughts, or is it more about this year just sort of getting everything, because you said there's already been so much growth, kind of just getting all the systems in place? What's on your mind at the moment when it comes to the business?
I think last year when it did really pick up, I kind of got a fright in terms of like, I can't get ill or anything. Nothing can happen right now, or this all just disappears.
Mhm.
So right now it's making sure that like there is systems in place so that um if I had to take some time off, or if I just wanted to drop down days or anything, that it works without me. Because as much as the personal brand is important and it is my business, I don't want to be in a situation where I feel really burnt out and I can't take like some time off. So yeah, so I think that it would be nice to get to a position where I can do designs like 3 times a year in launches that are then designs that can be made by somebody else. And it doesn't all just, yeah, rely on me turning up like 6 days a week. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. No. Yeah, absolutely. And you want to go on holiday and live a life. And like you said, you don't want to get burnt out. And I think when you're running your own business, it's so easy to get carried away with the almost the adrenaline of like, but it needs me and it's growing, and all those things. But you're very wise, I think, to think about future proofing, and also, yeah, it's creating space, because when you've got space and time as a business owner, it means that more things are possible, new things are possible. If you did ever want, for example, a bigger shop, you have time to research it, look at it, and you'll do all of that. Whereas when you're doing everything, the growth is that the kind of growth you're talking about isn't possible. So yeah, it's been awesome to kind of see that journey. So then going back to the beginning, because I know a lot of people who have done the diplomas or are looking at doing the diplomas look to people who've completed them and sort of see the different possibilities. And it really ranges. Some people do it and they just want to enjoy making, and it's not even for a business. And it's like, I just love making things and this is what I'm doing, which is awesome. But many people go on to start their businesses, and many people aspire to do something like what you've done, Alice, in opening your shop, growing a business, building a career for yourself from it. So tell us a bit about your journey into coming into the Silver Diploma and how that kind of worked out for you.
Yeah, so it was 2021, and I hadn't done any jewelry making at all. Um, I would say that I probably was like somebody that would say that they weren't very creative. And yeah, and then the first lockdown had happened the year before, and I'd been furloughed from work, and I'd found it really horrible and just like, yeah, just watched so much TV, which does actually sound quite nice now, but afterwards it didn't feel very productive. Um, so when I got furloughed again in 2021 in the January, I decided I wanted to try and do something, and I bought a beading set, and then very quickly was like, oh, I want to do more than this, and I want to do more and more and more, and it's kind of kept going from there. So that was the January, and then I think that it would have been the February that you guys started promoting the diploma, and I just went for it, which is crazy, but I'm so happy that that is the way it worked out.
Yeah, I love that you saw it and you'd never really made much jewelry before. And you're just like, I'm just going to do a diploma. Why not?
Mhm.
That's really how I would do something as well. It's just be like, oh, because you have that intuition, don't you? Of like, this is just, I'm just doing this right now. I know it seems a little bit crazy, but I'm just going to go for it. And then, so you signed up. And what happened between when you signed up and when you started? Did you get like toolkits, material kits? Did you think, what am I doing? Were you excited to get going? Like, tell us a bit about the journey.
So from the start, when I say it now, it sounds so crazy, but it didn't feel crazy at the time. I always was like, I'm going to make the business and fund the diploma through the business. So it was like really basic. Actually, I'm still wearing the earrings that are the ones that were first, like on, yeah, on my website. Well, it would have been Etsy at the time, but it was drilled sea glass, and necklaces and earrings and just really simple bits. Um, and so, yeah, I just made quite a lot, and I sold quite a lot quite quickly because people were sitting at home, I think. So I was maybe like lulled into like thinking that it was just going to be so easy to sell jewelry. It was just going to go and go. Um, so yeah, I did a lot, and then I went back to work full time in the July. So I think that I probably didn't make much between the July and the September, but um, I decided that because I didn't really understand the materials, I still get confused with loads of different things. I just thought I'll buy the material pack, but I couldn't afford to buy the tools at the time. So then I just got the list off of the website and like slowly ticked my way through the list of tools throughout that that period. And by the September I had everything. So yeah, it was,
Love
yeah, a
it.
bit crazy, crazy turnaround.
No, but it's great. I think once you commit to something, and I think most people are like that with the diploma. We actually looked recently at the completion rate of the diplomas because I was super curious and we were having a chat about it. And Anna, who's the community manager, was looking through and she was like, it's over a 99% completion rate, which for an online program is like unheard of. But it makes sense to me because I think, like you, once people sign up, they're all in.
Yeah.
It's a big investment, time, money, the whole year. It means so much to people. And then there's obviously like the community and everything. Once you're in, once you're in the cult, you're in. And you've invested in the tools and the materials. And I think these things can be barriers to begin with because it can feel like, gosh, there's so much to get sorted. But
Mhm.
actually, once you have, you're really committed. And I think that's so lovely to see how people come together and make all these pieces and learn so much. And at the moment, we're seeing Kelly Twig, who I know you know as well, going through the Silver Diploma as well on the Diploma Diaries, and it's just really awesome to kind of watch the journeys unfold. So you got the material kit, which is always a good decision, because I think everybody regrets not getting the material kit if they don't, because it's everything all put together for you. But the toolkit you kind of gradually built up yourself. And then what was it like being on the diploma, being still fairly new to jewelry making, but knowing that you wanted to run it as a business? And I love that you had this idea to fund your diploma with the jewelry. I think that's a brilliant, motivator.
Mhm.
But yeah, what was it like? Talk us through maybe the first term or so.
It was like challenging, but it wasn't like unmanageable. So I would say when you were talking about Kelly there, I was just picturing like how perfect her work was, and I think if I had seen that when I was handing my stuff in, I would be like, oh my goodness. But I think that, that she's so good.
You've been doing jewelry for a little while, so there's different levels for sure.
Yeah, but that I think that that's great, and the fact that like you can take away from it what you can manage. So I was back to working full time, and it was a lot to do. And there's the 2 weeks at the end of each term where I would always be like scrambling to get everything together. But it was a really good motivator, and there was no way that I would have learned the amount that I did in such a short period of time. So yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, awesome. And what projects or techniques from the diploma do you still use today, would you say?
I like all of them, I think. I think even the ones that like I can remember during the diploma thinking, wax, I'm never going to do wax. I don't even know why I'm bothering to learn to learn this, and just ticking it off because it was on the list. And now I use wax in like half of my pieces. So even the skills that I thought, oh, I don't really like this, like I don't, yeah, this is not going to be for me. I it's so good that I now know how to do them. But it's like learning everything. Like there's going to be parts of it that are not for you.
Yeah.
Um, I
You've not
found,
made the kite project again, for example.
yeah, the kite project was really hard, and I still know that sewing is not my strong point. So, but it was kind of good though, because you don't know until you've tried all of these things what your strong points are going to be and what's not. Um, and when it came to the end and we did the final project, I picked the things that I felt most comfortable with, and they're still the three things that I use in every like most pieces of jewelry that I make,
Mhm.
or are kind of like fit into that style.
Let me guess. Let me guess what they
Okay.
are. Granulation?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Claw setting?
Hmm.
Is there, and there's another one.
Yes. There was another setting.
Oh, another setting. Tube?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah, there we go. I see that in your work all the time. Oh, the other thing I was going to say is working with gold, because you've been working with gold more
Yeah.
now. But I guess that's like a natural progression. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
So I would say that like because we were asked to do three elements in a piece, and I did a ring, and I still wear it every day. And yeah, it was like I was so proud when that came together, that I was like, this is the style of jewelry that I want to make forever. So yeah, that's
Oh,
kind of strayed away from there a little bit, but it definitely kind of all looks similar to that.
yeah, it's like you found your style. It's like you tried all these different techniques and
Mhm.
you're like, out of these, this is what I'm going to make my first collection out of. And I think that's such a helpful thing to have as a goal by the end of the year, is especially if you're running a business, is refining a little bit and committing to a few different techniques, because otherwise it can be like, oh, I just want to do everything all the time. It's too much. But it's nice to see how your business has grown and you have been able to encompass other techniques without necessarily changing your style, like the wax, for example, to make your life a little bit easier with the casting process and
Mhm.
stuff like that as you scale up. So yeah, it's very exciting for me to see the journey, to hear about it. So you finished the diploma. So we've got up till now. but the gap is between when you finished the diploma and now. So what happened then? Like, what was the journey to, because I guess at that point you didn't have a shop yet.
Mhm.
Um, you're making and selling jewelry, kind of building the brand. Were there any times when you felt like, ugh, is this going to work? Or did you always kind of have the faith? What was your journey like there?
Yeah, so a lot happened that year. We lived on mainland Scotland when I started the diploma, and by the time that I finished the diploma, I'd quit my job, um, and because I wanted to quit my job, but also I was enjoying jewelry, um, and we'd moved here, and we were living with my partner's parents, and I was making from their attic. And when we first knew we were going to move in with them for a little while, I did think, like, where am I going to make jewelry? I thought that that wasn't going to work out.
Yeah, sorry
But
guys, I just need a room for like torching and hammering things. Is that okay? Yeah.
yeah. And even now, I'm Angus is my partner, and he doesn't want me to make it home. Like, he's so scared of me setting something on fire. Um, and he really didn't want me to set his parents' house on fire, but I haven't yet.
That's
So
fair.
yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
But it worked out. Like, the attic was actually totally fine. That was where I made my final piece. So, um, yeah, it was just a moment of, is this going to work? But I really wanted it to work, and I think having the diploma as a goal as well, like, I had to make it work. Like, it was,
Mm.
yeah, there wasn't really a choice in it. So yeah, and then it was the September of that year. So, like, exactly a year from when I started the diploma, that I got the keys to the shop. So yeah.
Amazing. That's exciting. Yeah. And you just went for it. And I love that, you've done that, that you've just taken the risks and you keep taking them. And I think that's, we were talking about why has your business grown? And I think that's one of the key answers is actually you just keep putting yourself out there and being like, I'm just going to do this diploma. I'm just going to get keys to this shop. I'm just going to, and not, not crazy risks,
Mhm.
but risks that feel at the time like a leap. And I think that, yeah, I can relate to that. I like to take the leaps, but
Yeah.
there needs to be something to keep it interesting. What's next? What's the new project? What are we doing? Which, like you said, bring up some fear or anxiety, but at the same time brings the kind of joy, the excitement, and the growth that you're kind of working on. So, yeah, very very exciting to see. Um, so you got your keys to your shop and you've been building it and kind of growing it from there. And now you help support other makers as well, don't you, with the Jewelry Business Academy and things like that, passing on some of your knowledge, which I know people absolutely love. How do you feel about doing the mentoring side of things?
Yeah, I really enjoy it. It is um really, like, it's interesting to see the way that different people's brains work, because I think, without you saying to me, you always take I take the risks. I do take the risks, but it's not until you speak to other people that, like, maybe just think, like, completely differently, to you, that you see that a little bit more, that actually that was a little bit crazy, but in a good way. But yeah, it's been really good, because like, the way that everybody's brains work and, like, running their businesses is so interesting. And I think when I first started, I thought, oh, we're all going to end up just having the same jewelry businesses at the end of the diploma. But the such, like, different businesses have come out of the diploma. The same with Jewelry Business Academy. Like, everything, like, every single person is so different in the way that they work and the way that they make, and it's so nice to see the growth, like, that they've done. It's been, yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it must be amazing seeing some of your peers. I mean, even people in similar years to you. I'm not sure if they were the year before or not, like Ian Sainsbury,
Mhm.
such a different business to yours, also taking lots of risks, like throwing himself into everything.
Yeah.
Emily Elizabeth, Marquetta, like there's too many to mention. Sally, the Clerkenwell jeweler. It's just really awesome to kind of see. And like you said, you're all doing the same course, but it's like all going to the same school. You're all going to have totally different futures. But it's nice when you guys can keep in touch. And I guess we haven't talked about this much, but the community aspect and the mentoring on the diploma, was that something that was quite important to you? I know you say on Facebook you're more of a lurker than a speaker, but I feel like it was still something that was important to kind of feel part of it.
Yeah, I think it's actually crazy now to think that like I am the person on the group calls for business academy that's like has to speak all the time because otherwise it's silent. Um, because I definitely was somebody that was be like camera off, microphone off, just watching what was going on, and that was fine. For me at the time, that was like all that my brain could manage. I don't know if I was the year after kind of the most of the people that you mentioned, but um I honestly don't think that the people that were in my year would have known that I was in the year.
You
But it
were
didn't
with
mean
a partner in the year.
but it doesn't mean that they're like everything that they were discussing on the group was like so valuable to me. It was like I was just waiting for somebody to ask the question that I was like too nervous to ask. Um so yeah, I think that it was yeah, different people use it differently, I would say. But that's the same thing, is like everybody's brains kind of just work differently.
Mm. Yeah, and it's interesting, like you don't always know who's going to be which type of personality. Like I also, when I'm in training groups, I'm quite different to how I am in Jules Academy. Like I'm more of a sponge. I'm like silent, but I'm taking it all in.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are like, "Oh, you're not like responding," and I'm like, "No, because my brain is still it's in taking in mode. I'm not ready to be out." Whereas some people are great in the groups at sort of asking the questions, like you said, and being really kind of proactive. So I think it takes all different characters to build up the community. And I guess what we're saying is come as you are,
Mhm.
like you don't have to be an extrovert. Most jewelers are not extroverted. Some are, and they're allowed to. We let them in too. But yeah, it's kind of taking what you like, I suppose, and
Mhm.
leaving the rest, and yeah, just absorbing what you need to. And did you, I know the answer to this, so I'm going to ask it anyway. Did you use the payment plan, and how did that help with, in terms of the financial aspect of the diploma? Because I know not everyone has like, you know, a spare 4 to 5 grand, including all tools and materials to just drop.
Yeah, I did. I paid monthly, and I paid from the February, I think, when I signed up. So would it have been 18 months, I think? Trying
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
remember.
That was the 18.
Um,
Yeah.
so it was a much more manageable goal to say I need to make this amount of sales to make it work. Yeah, and I think there's probably 2 or 3 months that I didn't manage and I had to put in money from like my own job. But I think overall, I mostly paid for it through the business, which there's no way that I would have been able to start like a business and have, yeah, the full amount straight away. So the payment plan was great.
Yeah, I think it's so helpful, and I think it's something, it's interest free, so it's not that you have to pay more if you do the payment plan. But definitely, if you're someone who's thinking about joining any of the diplomas really, and you're thinking money is the main issue, um, then just keeping in mind that Alice and quite a few other people have done this thing where because jewelry, you're making jewelry, you can sell it. And I think that actually really helps people with their businesses as well, because otherwise it can be easy to sort of think, oh, I'll start the business after the diploma, I'll wait. But actually, then it's going to take longer overall, because businesses, as most of us know, take quite a few years to get, the kind of growth that we're looking for. So it could be a really nice sort of gentle way into the business as well. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Alice, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story with us. Well done, and congratulations on
Thank
what
you.
you've achieved. It's really inspiring. I talk to people about you a lot within the community, and people always like, "Oh, well, Alice is amazing." And we were talking about before how social media only shows the best bits, and of course, it is also hard work running a business, and you do put in the hours and take all the risks, and do all the learning, like you said. But it is incredible to kind of watch your growth, and we're excited to see what happens next for you. If people want to come find you online, where is the best place to come and connect with you?
Yeah, so Instagram's my favorite. It's Alice Catherine Jewellery. I'm also trying to be better on TikTok. It's also Alice Catherine
Oh,
Jewellery.
well done.
We'll see how that goes.
Still a thing. America haven't banned it.
Mhm.
Um, there was that whole thing, and then it kind of came back. But yeah, love it.
Mhm.
Awesome. And for anyone thinking about joining the diploma, are there any kind of final words of wisdom or advice that you would give them if they're thinking about joining for September?
Yeah, I think just go for it, but and don't think that you need to be absolutely perfect at everything. There's going to be such a wide range of what people's abilities are. So yeah, I started as a complete beginner, and I didn't get top marks. That wasn't what I was looking to achieve. I didn't want perfect pieces. I just wanted to learn all the skills. And if you want to make perfect pieces, you can also do that, but it you can also sit somewhere in the middle as well. It doesn't need to be yeah, doesn't need to be that.
I love that, the letting go of perfectionism. I think that as jewelers, that can be hard to do, and it's so important. And actually, it reminds me of some of my first jewelry classes. And I remember kind of similar to you, but maybe not exactly the same. Before my first jewelry class, I knew I was going to become a jeweler. I'd already decided. I was like, this is my future. This is what even though I have no skills. And in my first class, I wasn't talented. Like I was fine. I could basically do roughly what they said, but it didn't matter to me because it wasn't about like, am I good enough to do this? It was about I'm doing this, so I'll just keep going until I'm good enough.
Yeah,
um, and
definitely.
I think when you've got that in your mind that like you've decided, it doesn't matter if you get it wrong 8 times, 10 times, 20 times, because what you practice, you will improve at. It's just like a kind of law of the world. If you practice, you'll improve. So it's not talent; it's hours at the bench practicing. And yeah, I think you're a great example of that as well. That you weren't deterred. Not that, I mean, I don't think any of your pieces weren't good. I mean, I
Well,
didn't
there
see
were
them much.
some
We can all look back. Yeah, we can look back and be like, oh, okay, there was some
Mhm.
pieces, but you can always progress, and yeah, you've certainly done that. So yeah, thank you so much again. Do go and give Alice a follow. I'll also put a link to the silver diploma and the other diplomas in the show notes. And the deadline to sign up for the 18-month payment plan, I think it ends this week. It's Friday the 7th of March, and it does go up significantly per month after that point. So if you're thinking of doing Alice style, crowdfunding personally with your own jewelry, this is going to be the best way to do it. So yeah, thanks again, Alice. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you back here for another episode very soon. Bye for now.